Hello students, once again this is your English teacher, Teacher Mel. And for today's topic, we're going to talk about the simple past tense of regular verbs. Okay, so what is the simple past tense? The past simple tense, also called the simple past, is used for past actions that happened either at a specific time, which can either be given by a time phrase, like yesterday, last year, last night, or understood from the context. So, in verbs, we all know that verbs is an action word, right? And verbs has two forms, the regular verbs and the irregular verbs. So first, we're going to talk about the regular verbs and its past simple tense. Okay, so in past simple tense of regular verbs, we're going to follow some rules. And these rules are: rule number 1. To make the past tense with most regular verbs, add ed. For example, watch, it will become watched. Again, watch, watched. Another example, talked, talked, talk, talked. We talked on the phone for hours last night. We talked on the phone for hours last night. Next, start, started, start, started. Kelly started to dance when she heard the music. Kelly started to dance when she heard the music. Next, watch, watched, watch, watched. I watched a movie yesterday. I watched a movie yesterday. Clean, cleaned, clean, cleaned. I cleaned my room 2 days ago. I cleaned my room 2 days ago. Next, wash, washed, wash, washed. Dad washed the dishes last night. Dad washed the dishes last night. Play, played, play, played. Charles played football with his friends last week. Charles played football with his friends last week. So these are the rule number 1. Let's repeat. In rule number 1, plus ed or add ed. Next, rule number 2. In rule number 2, if a regular verb ends in letter E, just add d. I repeat. If a regular verb ends in letter E, just add d. Example, like, it will become liked. Like, liked. Another example, smile, smiled. Smile, smiled. Ben smiled at me and I smiled back. Ben smiled at me and I smiled back. Bake, baked. Bake, baked. Grandma baked cookies. They smell delicious. Grandma baked cookies. They smell delicious. Escape, escaped. Escape, escaped. 5 people escaped from prison today. 5 people escaped from prison today. Those are the rule number 2. Let's repeat. In rule number 1, plus ed or add ed. In rule number 2, if the final letter of the word is E, you just add D. Next, rule number 3. If a regular verb ends in a consonant and Y, take off the Y and add IED. I repeat. If a regular verb ends in a consonant and Y, take off the Y and add IED. What are the consonant letters? The consonant letters are letters below. So for example, the word cry. Cry ends in letter Y and a consonant letter R. So we're going to take off or remove Y and add IED. So cry will become cried. Again, cry, cried. Another example. marry, married, marry, married. My parents got married in 1974. My parents got married in 1974. Cry, cried, cry, cried. The baby cried very loud in the morning. The baby cried very loud in the morning. Study, studied, study, studied. I studied all night for the exam. I studied all night for the exam. So those are the rule number 3. Okay, let's review. In rule number 1, you add ed. In rule number 2, if the final letter is E, you add D only. And for rule number 3, if the final letters are consonant and Y, remove Y, then add IED. Okay, let's go to rule number 4. If a regular verb ends in a single vowel and a single consonant, double the consonant and add ED. I repeat. If a regular verb ends in a single vowel and a single consonant, double the consonant and add ed. Example, the word stop. There is one vowel and one consonant. So we're going to use this rule number 4. So stop will become stopped. Stop will become stopped. Another example. Begged, begged, beg, begged. The boy begged his teacher not to call his mom. The boy begged his teacher not to call his mom. Next, jog, jogged, jog, jogged. Maria jogged for 3 hours last Saturday. Maria jogged for 3 hours last Saturday. Ripped, ripped. Rip, ripped. Larry ripped his jeans to look more stylish. Larry ripped his jeans to look more stylish. So that is rule number 4. Let's review. In rule number 1, you add ed. In rule number 2, if the final letter is E, you add D only. In rule number 3, if the final letters are consonant and Y, you remove Y, then add IED. And for rule number 4, if there is one vowel and one consonant at the end of the word, you double the last letter or double the consonant and add ED. Do you understand? I hope you understand. Next, let's try some exercises. So we're going to make the verbs in the past form. Jump, jump. How are we going to write the past simple tense of jump? Let's go to rule number 4 first. In rule number 4, should be one vowel and one consonant at the end of the word. But jump has 2 consonants at the end, so rule number 4 is not applicable. Next, rule number 3. In rule number 3, the ending letter should be letter Y, but jump ends in letter P, so rule number 3 is not applicable. Next, rule number 2. In rule number 2, the final letter should be letter E, but jump ends in letter P, so rule number 2 is not applicable. So we're going to use rule number 1. We're going to add ed, so jump will become jumped. Okay, next, carry, carry. So carry ends in letter Y and a consonant. So we know what to do, right? We're going to use the rule number 3 because the word carry ends in letter Y and a consonant. Rule number 3 is applicable. So carry will become carried. Very good. Next, agree. Agree. So the word agree ends in letter E. So what rule are we going to use? Rule number 2. Very good. In rule number 2, the word should end in letter E. So agree will become agreed. Okay? Next word. Next word, plan. Plan. So in the word plan, the ending letters are letter A and letter N. First, we're going to try the rule number 2. Rule number 2 should end in letter E, but plan does not end in letter E, so rule number 2 is not applicable. How about rule number 3? Rule number 3, the word should end in letter Y, but plan does not end in letter Y, so rule number 3 is not applicable. And let's go to rule number 4. And in rule number 4, the ending letter should be a single consonant and a single vowel. And plan ends in a single consonant and a single vowel. So we're going to use rule number 4. So plan will become planned. Do you understand our lesson? Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you understand our lesson and see you again next time. Study hard and stay safe. Bye-bye.